When you have your girls, you're never alone. You get together for coffee, maybe to work out, or just to laugh. We created Hey Girl, just for you. Can't wait for you to join us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hey Girl. I'm your girl Kim with an E, and this is episode 81. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, I want to let you know that Hey Girl is a safe space where you can share your experiences and be affirmed, I should say. Let's face it, life can be complex and sometimes overwhelming, and that's why we believe in the power of conversation, because knowing you're not alone is what helps you get through. And I'm so glad that you are here with me today, that I am not alone. And I hope that you will like and share this live video so that we can have a great conversation today with among friends. We are kicking off a brand new theme this month. It is November, y'all. It's November. I can't believe it. We are coming down to the end of 2021, and we are shifting this month into a brand new theme. Last month, we were talking to guests who are doing creative work, and that was fantastic. I especially enjoyed my conversation last week with Vanessa Crockett. She's an interior designer, but she's not a decorator. And I think that's a really important distinction, which she made for us last week. So if you missed it, be sure to pull that live video up from last week. As you know, we go live every Saturday, but those shows you can watch. The previous shows are resting and living here on our Facebook page, and you can go back and look at any one of them. In fact, right here on the Facebook page, if you go to videos and click playlist or click videos, you will see all of our playlists. They are organized by each of the themes that we have done every month throughout the year. And here we are in November. As I said, we have one more month to go in the year, and I just can't believe it. But our theme this month, as we shift into November, as we come down into this final part of 2021, and particularly as we come down to the Thanksgiving season, and I want us to be mindful of all that we have to be grateful for, I decided to choose the theme of failure, ironically, for us this month. And we're going to get into why that is in a little while. But I want to invite you in. Let me know that you're here. Say hello in the comments. As I said, like and share this video so that others can join us. Now, I mentioned that our focus this month is on failure, and it's not for the sake of focusing on failure necessarily, but so often we focus only on success. And this show is all about success, and we are happy to empower and affirm women who are doing good things, doing great work, and having wonderful success. But this month, we're focusing on failure for a reason. I think that we are often embarrassed by failure, and we think that we should only succeed, only ever succeed, and only ever talk about success. And I want to challenge us this month to think a little bit differently about failure, to recognize the fact that we all have experienced failure in some way, and that it actually takes courage to admit that and to talk about it. And that's what we're going to do this month. We're going to talk to some courageous women who recognize that success is only half the story, and that prior to success there are indeed failures. And so they're going to share that with us this month. I've only been able to find a couple of women who were brave enough to step forward and talk about this, but these conversations are going to be so important for us to have, and I'm hoping that you'll stick around for them. But I want to know, who else out there is courageous? Are any of you courageous enough to admit some failure that you've had in your life? If so, share in the comments. What has knocked you down? Can you share it with us? Can you give us a little sense of what failures you have experienced? As I said, I don't think that my guest today and I are the only ones who have had experience with failure. Next month, by the way, I want to let you know that we will be bringing back the marriage edition of Hey Girl, and I'm really looking forward to introducing you to some married couples who have had successes and failures in their marriage. and in their relationships. And they're going to talk to us about how they have managed to stay together through it all. So put that, save the date, if you will, on your calendar for next month's theme, as we will round out the year talking about marriage and relationships. And then already I'm thinking ahead to January 2022. That just doesn't even sound right. But my vision for January is for us to write the vision. And I'm just going to leave that there. I'm not going to tell you anymore. You'll hear more about it as we get closer, but that's my thinking for our theme in January. So be sure to tune in. Now, I also want to give a high five to the Hey Girl list. As you know, I'm always pushing and promoting uh, small businesses, women owned businesses, minority owned businesses. We want to make sure we are supporting them. You can find the Hey Girl High Five on this Facebook page as well as on my website, justkim.net. We have businesses listed there, businesses that are they're making good food and they're making good products for our bodies. The candy jar is one of those. The cupcake collection is one of those. So you can smell good on your body and then you can eat good food as well. And then we have, of course, our friends who have done other types of work and offer other services, cleaning service. And of course, Kai Glover was on our show the other day talking about makeup, and Natalie Ray sells clothing. So we have some really fantastic businesses that we would love for you to support. And so just check out the list of those businesses, as I said, on our Facebook page, as well as on my website, justkim.net. Also want to remind you to sign up for the Just Kim newsletter, which comes out once a week. Once a week, I get a chance to send you something personal in your inbox and to remind you to just keep God first and keep believing in what He's put in your heart to do. So if you're interested in receiving that, be sure to click that link there in the chat. I send you just something once a week, a Monday motivation, a free download, and I give you a heads up about who our guest is coming up in the following week. All right. Did anyone say hello to me in the comments? I actually am not looking at the comments, but I'm hoping you're out there. Was anyone brave enough to admit some failure that they've experienced in the past? Nobody? Okay, I'm going to give you a little time to think about it. That's okay. I know that it is a big deal to put down in writing, this is what I did that didn't go so well. But what I admire most about the guest that we have today is that she indeed put in writing a failure that she experienced. And it is actually what inspired this month's theme. And I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest, Karlecia Swan, today. She is a graduate of Oakwood University and Alabama A&M, and she received both degrees in social work. After completing her graduate studies, she was led to start First Lady Empowerment Foundation Incorporated in 2008, birthed out of a passion to help young girls build their self-esteem and self-worth. Karlecia owns a group home, We Care Alabama. She is a self-published author of a book of affirmations called I Have Value and Worth. And during the pandemic, she launched Inspired by K Swan LLC. When she's not mentoring foster children and adolescent girls, she spends time filming short films, commercials, and comedy. And Karlecia believes that living your best life is a choice. And she lives by the mantra, do it scared. I love that. Please help me welcome Karlecia Swan to Hey Girl.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey,
Hey,
girl.
how are you? Hey,
I'm good.
girl.
How are you?
I am great. I am great. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to just begin at the beginning.
Okay.
Um, Tell us a little bit, if you would, about yourself, your background, where you're from, and your family.
Okay, sure. So I am from Houston, Texas. Born and
Okay.
raised in Houston, Texas. My mother and father, well, my mother is originally from Huntsville, and she met my dad in this area. And then
Mhm.
when she had my brother and I, it was only two of us. My brother is older. He doesn't necessarily like for me to share that, but he is older. We were born in Nashville, Tennessee, and then we
Okay.
moved to Houston, where that's where I grew up, and I was there until I came to college. Huntsville, though, is still home for me
Hmm.
because when we were younger, my mother was a teacher, and so she had summers
Hmm.
off, and we would come to Huntsville every summer to spend it with my grandmother. So
Hmm.
it just is. It's my second home, probably first, really, and
Yeah.
then Houston, and then now I'm back. So I've
Yeah.
been here since I came to college, and never left. I love it.
Yeah.
It's done me well. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, yeah,
Hun-
yeah.
Huntsville's come a long way. Huntsville's come a long
It
way, I
has.
must say.
It definitely has come a long way for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that first summer I was in Huntsville after my first year at Oakwood. I ended up staying over in the summer, and I was like, oh wait, hold on. Like everybody went home, and like then I
Right.
got to really see Huntsville. Like Huntsville for me was Oakwood. So I similar to
Okay. Right.
you, I grew up and lived in other places. In fact, we just discovered that we both grew up in Houston. Um,
Right.
but I actually did high school in Atlanta, but we would, like you, we would always come to Huntsville for alumni weekend, for camp meeting, for to visit the grandparents, all of that.
Yes.
But I'll never forget after that first year at Oakwood, because like I said, we would always come for events and there was always things going on. And after that first year, and we stayed over. My roommate and I stayed in the summer, and we were like, hold on, where'd all the people go? Where's all the activity? Like Huntsville was
Yeah.
woof,
Yes.
dead, dead,
Yes.
dead.
Yes, for sure.
But now we got Mid City and we got Trader Joe's and we got Cheesecake Factory. Honey, we doing big things,
In 2021 though.
right?
Just now.
Literally, just started getting something happening around here.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but it is a nice place. It's a great place to live, particularly when you're our age and you're just kind of living life. It's not like you're looking for the
Right.
next party.
That's true. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So talk to me a little bit about how you came to choose social work, because you came here to go to college and you majored in social work. Did you know that's what you were going to do, or did you kind of figure it out after you got here?
Well, I started in psychology and then soon
Okay.
realized that that's not necessarily what I wanted to do. But to go back, so mentioning coming up here for college or for summers, we would come every
Hmm.
summer. My dad would drive us from Houston to Huntsville for the
Hmm.
summer. My mom and my brother and I would stay for the summer, and then he would come back to get us
Mm.
um, after the summer and go back home. He was a
Okay.
professor, so he taught summer school and he kept working. Um,
Okay.
so during those trips, my father would play this song by the Jackson Southerneers, and it was called Teddy Bear. And the only thing I can really remember about the song is it was about a little boy who was had some disabilities of sorts, and he would call this radio trucker person. This is in the song now,
Okay.
and he was saying how he needed friends or he was sad or something was really sad about this little boy calling truckers for conversation and comfort. And I remember
Okay.
every time my dad would play this song, I was in the back seat and I would just cry. And
Oh,
I felt in the moment thinking this little boy needs services. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how
wow.
I came to think, but it tugged at my heart each time my dad would play this song. And I would hear it
Wow.
every time we're traveling back and forth. And not knowing I'm probably between 8 and 12 years old at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't really
Uh-huh.
know what that means, but I knew I
Right.
felt a compassion for someone who I felt had issues or whatever, right? So when
Yeah.
it was yeah, so when it was time for college, I think I chose psychology at first because my dad is a psychologist, or he has a degree in psychology. And I think I
Okay.
chose that because of that at first. And
Okay.
then once I just, something about it just for me wasn't it. And I said I wanted something where I could help provide all kinds of services, because remember, now
Okay.
I'm going back, this little boy needed services. So
Right.
so that led me to social work, and that's pretty much
Wow.
how I started my journey becoming a social worker.
Wow, that is so
Yeah.
interesting. What's so compelling about that is that you were a kid and knew this sort of in without really knowing you knew that this was something
Right.
that was needed.
Right. Well,
So it's almost like
right. I didn't really know
yeah,
I didn't know. And
yeah.
I will say that any parents that are out there listening, if you
Mhm.
see your child gravitating to something or reacting to something that's positive or
Mhm.
whatnot, really pour into that. I'm
Pay
not
attention to
sure
that.
my
Yeah.
I really I never asked my dad, but I'm not sure if he recognized that and wanted to continuously play this song, because I tell you, every time we were on the trip, we played this song. And I don't know if that was him somehow trying to
Right.
evoke certain
Yeah.
emotions or qualities in me. I'm not sure, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna say he did. That's what I'll stick by that. And so for any
Yeah.
parent, really try to tap into what your children are feeling about certain things, because that could lead them to what they're supposed to do in life.
I think that's such an important message because
Hmm.
a lot of us parents, we have an idea what we want our children to do, and it has nothing to do with them.
Right.
It has everything to do with
That's true.
what we want. Yeah.
Right,
So it's
right,
like
right, right.
put aside what you want for a second and see what they are actually inclined to. That's a good
Absolutely.
message for all of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah. So how did you come to start the group home?
The group home, okay, so when I was in I think I was doing my master's program. It might have been, I can't remember whether it was at Oakwood or at A&M, but I did an internship at a group home. And
Okay.
from there, it kind of opened my eyes to maybe one day wanting to have my own. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's always been in the back of my mind. And but then life happens and you find, or
Mm-hmm.
you go a different way, or you feel like you can't do it. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just travel different other paths. And then
Mm-hmm.
the reality of it is, when I lost my job in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
I remember my brother saying to me, "Now you can start that group home you've always wanted." And at that time, it
Mm-hmm.
was just not on my mind at all.
Mm-hmm.
But he helped me remember a dream I had. And from
Wow.
there, I just started that process and kept at it. And here we are.
Yeah, nice. So what was the work that you were doing prior to starting the group home?
I started as the social worker or the service coordinator for a senior independent living facility, and then became
Mm-hmm.
the manager there. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
managing low income senior housing.
Okay. All right. And you
Mhm.
did that for how long?
14 years.
Oh, wow. So
Yes.
how how did it feel to lose that job? What was that
Um,
like for you?
it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
horrible. A combination of feelings. Obviously, it's like, after becoming sad about it and not knowing what's next, like, I need
Yeah.
a job, I have to work,
Right.
and then angry because of
Mm-hmm.
how it all went down, and
Mm-hmm.
then feeling like, okay, well, to go back a year prior to that, I was praying to the Lord saying, there was some things I wanted to do, and just allow me to do some of the things I want to do, never
Mm-hmm.
intending not to work, because I wanted to do that
Mm-hmm.
and still work.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
felt like that was an opportunity, although it was not the way I would have chosen to to do it, but that was an
Right.
opportunity for me to follow other dreams. It kind of gave me the push that I needed to
Mm-hmm.
do the things that I felt God was wanting me to do. And so sometimes he'll do
Hmm.
that. If you don't listen, he'll
Yeah.
he'll push you out the way, and then you have to do it. So,
Right.
that's
It
another
sounds like,
thing. Listen to him and go the
yeah,
way he wants you to go, or else you'll get there at some point, but you're
yeah,
going to take another journey that you don't like.
right. Yeah. It sounds like he
So,
pulled the safety net out from under you so that you
say it
had to
again.
just rely on him. It sounds like he pulled out the safety net. There was no safety net, so you had to rely on him at that point.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 And so once I realized that, once I came to grips with
Hmm.
that and understood that, it was easier for me to
Hmm.
get over what happened. It was
Yeah.
still difficult.
Right.
Still difficult, but in terms of my emotional state and trying to move forward, it made it
Hmm.
easier because now I understand, okay, sure, you know.
Yeah. Hmm. So talk about the process of starting a group home. I have no idea how that even begins. Like, what are the steps for doing that? How did you determine what the thing was? Like, yeah, how did you determine that this was what you were gonna do? And then how did you go about doing that?
Well, basically, you have to do some, some research.
Hmm.
I'm with the Alabama Mental Health Department. So they
Hmm.
have different programs that you can apply for, and
Okay.
once you apply, that goes through a just a lot of steps to
Yeah.
then get approved,
Hmm.
semi approved, to then
Hmm.
be able to provide services for whatever group you decide to that you want to provide services for.
Okay.
So that's the short of it.
Got you.
It is, like I said, I started the process in 2015,
Uh-huh.
and um, it's now 2021 when it has really come to fruition
Wow.
in terms
Yeah, the
of
whole
actually
process.
being able, yeah, in terms of being able to provide actual services. So
Wow. Yeah.
there were failures even with that,
Yeah.
um so I don't know if that's the story for every provider, the timing, but for me,
Hmm.
it's been a long journey.
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of funding a group home, does that come from state funds, federal
Hmm.
funds, or do you have to like beat the street and get donors
Well,
and
yeah, you have to do all the above. Yes.
yeah. Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's the first thing I think about. It's like, oh, how do you keep that going? It's a business,
yes.
but yet it's a service. So like,
Right.
yeah.
You said it perfectly. Yes. You have to do all those things and be
Yeah,
constant and consistent with it, and innovative, and yeah.
yeah. Well, congratulations on getting it off the ground.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
It's still a
how
work in
many,
progress.
yeah, about how many young people are you assisting through your group home?
Right now, we just have one, and we're doing adult right now. Um,
Okay.
right. So the beauty of going back to being a social worker or studying social work, one of the things that
Hmm.
I just always wanted was to be able to work with a variety of groups of people. And so
Hmm.
I've worked with a lot of different groups, vulnerable groups of people, and
Hmm.
that had always been my desire, to be able to make a difference just in a variety of ways with a variety
Hmm.
of different people. So I've
Hmm.
worked with preschoolers, and then adolescent girls, and then
Hmm.
teen girls, and I've worked with
Hmm.
drug addiction, people who
Hmm.
are addicted to drugs, and
Hmm.
seniors, and then now individuals with intellectual disabilities. So
Hmm.
that's just always been my thing, like working with the underdog,
Mhm.
so to speak, you know,
Yeah.
rallying for those who may not be able to rally for themselves and
Mhm.
help them build so that they can, you know, live the life that they're supposed to live. So that's just always been
Yeah.
my thing. And this is just a
Yeah.
part of that. And I'm
Yeah.
honestly really grateful to be able to try. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to try.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And so you have your, what is it? The First Lady Empowerment Foundation. That's what this whole thing is about, empowering,
Yes.
you said particularly adolescent girls, right?
Right. That's how it
And what is that?
started.
Yeah. So what does all that entail? Like, what are some of the things you do under that umbrella?
So when I started it in 2008, and even until now, primarily the premise is to help younger girls build their self-esteem, build their
Hmm.
confidence, so that
Hmm.
when they grow older, the choices that they make for their life, whether it's
Hmm.
relationships, friendships, careers, it's based on a positive, healthy self-esteem and
Hmm.
not from I don't love myself type, because
Right.
that steers you in a whole different
Right.
direction that you don't even have to involve yourself in. So,
Right.
and we've done that through workshops.
Hmm.
Summer camp was my thing, a week long summer camp where we just do a variety of activities that just help them learn who they are and
Hmm.
try to develop positive qualities that they
Hmm.
should have and what they should look for in friendships,
Yeah.
and just grow as a woman, you know.
Yeah. So how can people find you if they know of young people, young women, young girls who could benefit from that service?
Definitely. So I do social media. I don't mind
Hmm.
DMs.
Hmm.
I have First Lady Empowerment Foundation Facebook page. They can
Hmm.
DM me there. My website, firstladyempower.org. You can send me a
Hmm.
message there. I'm pretty open to receiving messages, and
Hmm.
that's a way they can reach out for sure.
Good stuff. Okay. And then you've also written a book, or you have a book of positive affirmations. You want to talk about how that came
Yes.
together?
Okay, so I'm really proud of this little handy dandy book here of positive affirmations. So
Yeah.
let's see, in 2019, okay, so let's go back. My
Hmm.
father has been very instrumental to my development and just who I am, and a
Hmm.
part of who I am, obviously. And so when
Hmm.
I started the nonprofit, the First Lady Empowerment Foundation, I asked my father to write a mantra for me, and that would be helpful for the girls. And he's
Hmm.
a poet, or he was a poet and a writer, so I knew, you know, I could ask him to do it. And so he wrote a poem called "I Have Value, I Have Worth." And
Hmm.
so I've used this mantra throughout all the things that I've done with the foundation, and I even use it
Hmm.
now with the group home with the young lady we have
Hmm.
now, that we incorporate this mantra for
Hmm.
her as well. So my father passed away in 2019,
Oh,
and it obviously it shook me up,
yeah.
it shook me up.
Hmm.
um and so it was in December of that year, 2019. I was feeling I was just kind of feeling lost, you know, like just like,
Yeah.
who am I? You know, I don't know if this
Mm.
happens to other people when they lose a parent, but it's like,
Yeah.
who am I now? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I lost my father and it feels like you're off balance. It's like
Off back,
it's
something
like
is
you lost
missing.
a leg or something. Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes. And
Mm-hmm.
so I
Mm-hmm.
just it kind of, you know, it kind of shook me a little bit.
Yeah.
So during that time, my mother was here, And I was actually preparing for a conference that was supposed to be 2020, May of 2020. And my
Mm-hmm.
mother said to me, she said, now, you need to write a book because
Mm-hmm.
most speakers,
Oh,
after they speak, they have product
yeah.
and you could sell your
Yeah.
books
Yeah.
at these events. And I was like, I mean,
Right.
the conference was in May, and she's telling me
Right.
this in November. So I'm just like,
Oh
I
my
don't know if I
goodness.
have time to do all of that. Um,
Right.
Needless to say, the conference got canceled due to COVID.
Mm,
But it was in December that I just decided, I went back to what helped me build my self
mm,
esteem and my confidence prior to
mm.
the death of my father. And so I just
Yeah.
began to write affirmations, in essence, that helped me. And so I
Mm,
knew that if it helped me in the past, it would help me now, and it would also
mhm.
help other girls, um,
Yeah.
to kind of just process, themselves. And
Mhm.
that's what happened. And so for 30 days, I wrote some affirmations. And then at the end
Mm.
of that, I had 30. And I was like, well, I don't know if the book is going to be thick enough. I need some more. So that's how I got to the 40.
Ah.
And so I did that in December. And um, I didn't have a plan. I really didn't think what would be next. But then the
Mhm.
pandemic hit, and I
Mm.
said, well, let me go back to this and see what I can do. And so during the time period that we were quarantining, I just
Mhm.
decided, let me publish the book, and created my publishing slash entertainment company, Inspired by Swan, and published it.
Mhm.
And there it is.
I was gonna ask you that next. So tell me how Inspired by K Swan came about, and there it is. So it includes the book. That's
It includes,
awesome. I mean,
yeah.
way to leverage the quarantine, like way to be productive in the midst of that crazy. And so what about so what else is a part of this Inspired by K Swan?
So it's the book and apparel, and then coming soon will be some type of production entertainment portion.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
I
excited
see
about that.
you on Facebook. Huh?
I said I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I see your posts on Facebook and they're always good. They're always funny. The little clips and the little things you put up, little videos you do, they're pretty funny. So
Thank
I'm
you.
sure it's gonna
Yes,
be
yes.
good.
Yeah. Well, yep. So, so how that came about, during quarantine, I just decided that I was just going to stay busy. And
Hmm.
really, everyone said that 2020 was like the worst. And for me,
Hmm.
my 2020 started in 2019 when my dad passed
Hmm.
away. And
Hmm.
I needed 2020, not all of what 2020 represents,
Yeah. Hmm.
but being able to stay home
Yeah.
helped me grieve,
Yeah.
so if we could
Hmm.
have done without the pandemic part and the disease part
Right.
of 2020, and
Yes.
just been quarantined, that would have
Right.
been okay. But
If we
for
could have
me,
found another excuse to be in
right,
quarantine, yeah.
right. I would have taken it without all of that. But
Yeah.
I needed, I needed that. I needed that because it
Mhm.
just, yeah, and still, even now, it's still difficult at times. But
Mhm.
I had to decide I just needed to be busy, and busy in the
Mhm.
sense that I was still trying to make a difference, not just frivolous busy, but actual
Right.
things that I knew could, or I hoped would inspire or empower someone else. And
Mhm.
so with the book and then the apparel primarily started with affirmations on a shirt. So
Mhm.
it kind of went
Mhm.
with the book, some of them.
Got
And that was a way for me to stay busy as well. I was making um, t-shirts, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and even how that started, I had made an order prior to the pandemic with a company, but they were shut down during the pandemic. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
let me see if I can make it. And so
Wow.
I bought the I did some research to figure out what all I needed, and actually my first order paid for that. So I was like, "Oh,
Oh, nice.
praise the Lord."
Right.
So I was,
Good.
and it's amazing how people will just take a chance on you. I didn't know what I was doing,
Yeah.
and people, you put it out there, and
Yeah.
somebody will take a chance, and I was grateful for that. And that's how kind of how that started.
Yeah. Well, obviously it met a need. And so you put it out
Yeah,
there and the person who needed it will grab it up. So that's great. I'm glad
yeah.
that you were able to do that. Speaking of putting things out there, I want to talk for
Okay.
a minute about how we got here. And that is
Okay.
I happen to
Yes.
be on Facebook and happened to just I literally just happened upon your post where I think what caught my eye is you said something about this is not one of those posts that you're expecting or something like that. Everybody posts their successes or whatever, and I just like, oh, what is this? And I just started reading it, and I was blown away by your courage. But I also immediately identified with your message because I am one of those people who scrolls through Facebook and Instagram and I see everyone's highlight reel and I think, oh,
Mhm.
everybody's life is perfect and mine isn't. Great, and there are days when I have to like turn away because I'm just like, okay,
Yes.
this is not helping me today. But when I read your post, you were like, I'm going to let you tell the story, but you put it all out there and you were not posting your highlight reel in that moment, and you were courageously saying, I failed. And that right there was like a light bulb for me because I thought that's what we need to talk more about. We need to have more conversations about failure. And I said at the beginning of the show, I know it's like, why are we talking about failure? That's not a good thing to talk about, but it is because we are always talking about success and we're always focusing on the things that are going well. But that makes it seem as though there's not the other side of the story, and that the other isn't in some way or another contributing to that success. So I want to, if you would, have you share what you posted and
Okay.
why, and then talk about the response that you got.
So I did a photo shoot in April, and one of the photos was a T-shirt that said "I will succeed," which
Hmm.
is a affirmation in my book.
Hmm.
And that's it. Yes. And I I was preparing to take this particular exam in August. And so I just said, let me incorporate this photo into the photo shoot because when I pass this test, this is going
Yeah,
to be the photo that I post saying
nice.
and I was going to share my story up until that point, and then boom, I passed. I will succeed.
Yeah.
And so to just go back, when you have a degree in social work, to practice social work, you must be licensed.
Hmm.
And when I graduated from Alabama A&M with my master's in 2003, that was not on my mind in terms of practicing social work, getting a license. It wasn't
Hmm.
really promoted, I don't believe. I don't remember.
Hmm.
Not in the sense where I felt an urgency to take the exam because I
Okay.
already had a job, so I didn't
Yeah.
need it on that particular job, and I didn't
Yeah.
see needing it in the future, to be honest.
Okay.
And so I just didn't. I just kept
Yeah.
on, kept going. But
Hmm.
in 2005, I it came to me that that was a part of the journey.
Okay.
Whether I needed it or not, that was a part of the journey. You signed up
Hmm.
to be a social worker, that's a part of the journey, and you have to
Hmm.
finish the journey. And so I began to study for this exam in 2005 and took the test 2005. I missed it by 3 points.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Naturally, I was devastated, but
Mhm.
okay. It took me another 2 years to get enough courage to take it again. That
Mhm.
time I passed, or I didn't pass. I failed by 2 points.
Oh,
Now I'm irritated. Okay.
right.
And for whatever reason, that one took me a little longer to get over, and I wouldn't take the
Yeah.
test again until 2011.
Okay.
Failed it again, failed it again.
Mm.
This time by 1 point.
Oh my gosh, you're just inching closer, closer, closer.
I took it again that year because I said, okay, boom, this is gonna be it.
Right. Right.
3, 2, 1, 0, pass. Failed it again. Okay. So at that point, 2011, I was done. I was like, I don't need
Yeah.
it, so I'm good. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm working the
Mhm.
job I want to work. I don't need it. I just
Yeah.
blocked it out. It wasn't anything. Um 2018 rolled around, and it came back to me. This is a part of the journey. Whether you need
Mhm.
it or not, this is a part of it. And
Mhm.
so I took it
Mhm.
again. I failed it.
Mhm.
I had never talked about this part of my life with anyone. And I'm not
Mm.
sure if people just assumed I had a license or not. I was never like
Mhm.
practicing social work in the sense that you needed it. So
Right.
I wasn't sure what people knew, or even, I mean, even if they
Yeah.
cared.
Right.
Um, but it wasn't something that I was willing to share because
Right.
here it is,
Yeah.
it's and it messes with your self-esteem,
I'm
and it
sure.
did for me, and
Yeah.
my confidence. It's like this test is dictating whether or not I am a good social worker.
Yeah.
And although now I know it does not dictate that, but
Mhm.
all those years, that's what I felt like. And so I was
Yeah.
like, well, this is not really something I want to share because I'm embarrassed.
Mhm.
It does say, well, you must not be good at social work.
Right.
So why,
Mhm.
so I just refused. I just didn't talk about it silently,
Yeah.
feeling the downfall of this test that I
Yeah.
felt like was a part of my identity that was not
Mhm.
good. Um,
Yeah.
and so having the support of my family, my
Mhm.
mom and my brother and even my dad, he was always encouraging.
Mhm.
It came back again. Last year
Mm.
during the pandemic, I'm at
Mm.
home, I can
Mm.
study.
Mhm.
I'm going for it again. I
Mhm.
determined at that point that however long this takes, I'm going to see it through, and I'm going to
Mhm.
keep taking this test until I pass it, thinking
Mhm.
though that this next time would be it.
Right.
Because
Right.
now I got a tutor. I said, let me do things a little different.
Yeah.
I got a
Uh-huh.
tutor, and try to facilitate how is this test, what's up with it, like help me
Yeah.
understand what am I missing.
Right. Yeah.
And so I felt like I was doing all the things, all the
Yes,
things
of
right.
course.
And I prepared. I felt I did everything right. So in August, I took the test again,
Yeah.
and I failed. And you
Mm.
find out right there. Once you hit the final question, they do like a survey of, I guess, whatever the survey is. I don't even know.
Mhm.
But you do the survey, and then as soon as you hit submit on that survey, it pops up. And
Oh.
I see, I mean, it's terrible.
Oh.
I see fail. I see fail.
Oh.
And it's like I was
Oh,
devastated. I can't lie.
yeah.
But I felt, and this was my sixth time.
Yeah.
And so sitting there, I'm just like, "Ugh, I
Mm.
can't. You know. So that night, um, I was just like, okay, what? You know what I mean?
Right.
That next day, um, I posted the counts of what I just shared of having
Yes.
gone through this for several years,
Yeah.
actually 16 years of trying to obtain a license for
Mm.
the degree that I'm educated in.
Right.
The passion that I, feel that God has created for me,
Yeah.
16 years. And as I'm talking to you now, I don't have it. I failed.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I posted it um with the picture, because the Lord was like, because I was not going to post
Yeah.
that particular photo until I actually passed it. And the Lord
Yeah.
told me, no, you're going to post this photo because it says I will succeed. It didn't say I
Yeah.
am a success.
Right. Right.
I will,
Yeah.
which means at some point in the future you will. It's just not
Yeah.
today, but you will.
Yeah.
So
Right.
post it and share your story. Share all of it,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I posted it publicly. I posted it on Instagram, Facebook. I'm in two social work groups on Facebook. I
Yeah.
posted it there. And um the amount of messages and comments about
Yeah.
it then made me realize why I needed to share this at
Yeah.
this point. There were many
Yeah.
people who had the same story. It took me
Mm-hmm.
8 times to pass. It took me this, and I'm on
Mm.
number 7, and and
Yeah.
also giving them courage to keep going, because in the
Right.
message I say that it doesn't stop here. I'm going to keep going.
Oh,
And one of the things I've always believed in is it's sometimes not about the actual destination or the actual
yeah.
end result. It's in how you travel to get there.
Yes.
Because the reality is this: some of our goals and dreams we may never reach. And not because
Mm.
we fail at them, but just something as simple as we may die before we get there.
Mm.
I mean,
Mercy.
that's just the reality. So,
Yeah.
trying to get to a certain point, you may never reach it, but
Yeah.
how do you travel towards it? And that
Right.
is the part that people need to see, the ups and the
Right.
downs of how you get to where you're going.
Yes.
And not giving up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the part we should focus more on, and not skip all this other stuff and just think one day I'm going to wake up and boom, I'm there.
Right.
And that's just not
Right.
how it works.
Yes.
Every successful
Oh,
person has a lot of failures under their belt. A
absolutely.
lot.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here with chill bumps because I know every woman, man, boy, or girl watching this will be able to identify with what you just shared. And I feel like that was what was so powerful. And maybe even God allowed you to fail so that you would have that post to post, because he knew how much we needed to hear that. And the
Because
fact that you have not yet succeeded in that is also encouraging, because we're so expectant of the happy ending that we miss entirely the path that gets you there. And I think he wants us all to slow down and pay more attention
yes.
to that path.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
I think about, had I posted that same photo with the same write up, but
Yes.
also at that moment I passed, it's not going to
Yes.
have the same effect on that young girl watching. I mean,
Yes.
sure, you failed and now you pass.
Yeah.
Yay. But that person,
Right.
whoever that is in their failure and can't
Right.
see really past
Right.
that.
Past
And so
that.
Right. In order to be able to connect with people and to, if your desire is to empower and inspire, which mine is, I have to be
Yeah.
able and be willing to share these things
Yeah.
um as I'm going through it. And I have to say, part of that is also a friend of mine. She's going through something very heartbreaking herself, and she's
Mhm.
sharing it as she's going through it. And
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking. It really is. But every
Yeah.
step of her journey, she is sharing it publicly. And
Mm.
how that inspires other people who are in similar situations or just in their own lane going through things, it's comforting. Not
Mhm.
that you're relishing in someone else failing and, oh yes, you
No.
too, but
Right.
it humanizes you. Like, we're not
Yeah.
perfect, we don't know
Right.
everything, we don't
Yeah.
we're not going to get everything right the first time we try something. And when you
Yeah.
see other people who look like you, who, are in the
Mhm.
same genre or path or something,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
can encourage you to just keep going. You're not alone in this. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
times we don't want to share these things because, one, we do think we're alone, and
Yeah.
we're embarrassed. We're embarrassed
Right.
by it.
Yeah.
Who wants to, who, it's so, listen, that
Right.
failure I share publicly, but I have so many others as well. Like, that's not the only thing. And who wants to be all the time talking about their failures? No one.
Right. Nobody. Yeah.
No one. No. And you also have to protect your space and your peace as well,
Yeah.
and know when and how and to who you should share
Right.
certain things. Yeah, it
Yeah.
comes with a level of discernment as well. And I've just felt in that moment I was courageous enough, because again, my self-esteem had been I had built it back up,
Well,
and so
yeah. I want you to talk
yeah,
about that though, because yeah, I mean, I'm feeling that with you. After the sixth time, I feel like you would be
you
so beat down, you wouldn't have even been able to get out there and share the way you did. So
right, for sure.
how did you come to have the courage to do that in the midst of your whatever you might have been feeling in that moment? How did you get the courage to share anyway?
Right. So honestly, one of my mantras is do it scared. And
Mhm.
that's even in taking these tests. Do it scared. I'm
Mhm.
scared I'm gonna fail, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it anyway. Sharing
Mhm.
it. I was scared because I didn't want people to know that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I try to inspire people with the positive things that's going on in my life, or I try to, encourage just, people living their best
Mhm.
life by me trying to live my best life. And
Right.
some things, like when I do my workshops and conferences and camps, I might share that in that space because
Yeah.
it's private and small. um,
Yeah.
but publicly, like this, that's a whole different ball game. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important for all of us to have a healthy self-esteem, because life
Mhm.
will knock you down. And if you don't
Mhm.
know who you are outside of whatever that thing is, then it's not going to
Mhm.
work. If I
Right.
really attached myself to being a licensed social worker, and then I
Mhm.
don't become a licensed social worker, then my life
Mhm.
is what? Meaningless? No.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
you have to you have to gain a positive outlook on your own life outside of all these things that we're trying to acquire, so
Mhm.
that when you go after these things, it not work, you're
Yeah.
not just, oh, I can't do anything now, and I
Right.
was that way before 16 years, not the whole
Yeah.
16, but half of that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
that. And just being able to know who I am outside of that, like, it does not define me.
Mhm.
That failure does
Mhm.
not define me. I am not the
Mhm.
mistakes that I make. I am not
Mhm.
this test. It does
Yeah.
not indicate, the test itself does not indicate whether or not I can provide service to you
Mhm.
as a social worker.
Mhm.
It does not define that. you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once you come to grips with who you are outside of
Mhm.
your failures, that's when you can keep
Mhm.
going. That's when
Yeah.
you can you can stay the course. And at some
Yeah.
point it'll work out, you know. I don't know when
Yeah.
that will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
I don't need it. I don't currently need a license to do what it is I'm
Right.
doing. And so for
Yeah.
me, and I look at the people who they need it for their jobs. I know social workers who have lost their jobs because they failed the test because it's
Yeah.
needed for that particular job.
Yeah.
So even that, I don't have that type of pressure.
Yeah.
Um, I realize I'm in a different category than some people who are banking on this for their job.
Yeah.
And so it's just you really have to fall back on who does God say I am, and
Mhm.
who who am I through his eyes. And
Yeah.
you have to attach yourself to what God says about you, and
Yeah.
that is what should propel you into your greatness.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that is so powerful, and I certainly hear you saying that you were being led by God through all of this. You were being led by God to even post that, and clearly He's using you for His purpose. And so, as long as you are aligning yourself with that, then you're able to walk through even those failures, and it gives those
Yeah.
failures a different perspective, gives you a different perspective on those failures because
And
you're
let
you're
me
just walking out the path that he has for you.
Right,
Hmm.
right, right. And let me also just share like practical things because that sounds good. What does God say? And hopefully that will
Yeah.
work. That will. But practically, like in real life, what I do, I actually, like, for instance, this failure, that was okay, that was hard. But I then will try something new to do
Hmm.
to see if I'm good at it. And if
Hmm.
I am, that helps build my self-esteem. So I
Mm.
will create things or try something new. And it could be about anything. It could be anything.
Hmm.
Just to kind of say, well, I'm good at that. Because going back to building your self-esteem, you have to learn who you are and what you're good at,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
helps
Hmm.
you build your self-esteem. When something gets
Yeah.
knocked down, you have to replace it with something good. And so for
Yes.
me, I will try something
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
hope I'm good at it.
Right. And you've
you
already
know
shared a lot of the things that you're good at, that you've been successful with. And so directing your attention to those things that have worked out, I'm sure has helped.
it helps, and then of course
Yeah.
not comparing my journey to someone
Yeah.
else's, my fellow
Absolutely.
social work friends who passed the
Right.
test the first time. Ugh,
Right.
it's not my
Right.
story, but I'm not going to congratulations to you. But
Right.
I can't then I can't beat
Yeah.
myself up because you
Right.
passed and I did not. So I don't compare
Right.
myself to anybody. I'm in my own lane, my own
Yes.
journey.
Yes.
That helps. That helps for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to acknowledge a few people in the comments. Leela Glover says, "Who does God say I am?" Great tip. Debbie Millette says, "I can hear Belinda Mozak singing about Naaman going down into the water 7 times. Six won't do,
Yes,
Carlecia. Six won't do."
yes. Six won't do. Seven, seven. I'm claiming seven. I'm claiming seven.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And then I actually had posted yesterday a quote from Winston Churchill, which says, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." I love
That
that.
is so true. Yes.
That is
It is
absolutely,
courage to continue.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. And
So,
take because it's easy to just stop. Like I could literally say, I don't need it.
yep,
I'm not trying to prove
done.
myself to anybody.
Right,
I'm done with it. I could easily
right,
say that. And I
right,
have
right.
throughout these 16 years. I have said that many times. I don't need it. Not
Yes,
proving myself. I don't need to prove myself to anybody. I'm good,
right,
But
right.
I'm always brought back to this was the journey. This was a part of that. So you should
Yeah,
finish. You should try to finish. So that's just what
keep
I'm going
going.
to do.
Yes, I absolutely am in your corner. Our theme this month is stay in the fight. Stay in the fight. So continue with whatever it is. Continue going for it. Continue striving. Don't allow the failure to defeat you. I think that's
Yeah.
really the message here.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful for your story. I'm so thankful for your courage, because it's blessed me. And in a future show, I will go into some more detail about some of my own failures. And I
Yeah.
know it has been a blessing to others. And so I just thank you for sharing. I thank you for letting God use you. And as I said, I'm in your corner. I'm cheering for
Thank
you.
you.
I'm looking forward to that post where you're wearing your "I will succeed," and maybe you can change it and say, "I have succeeded. I did it."
Perhaps.
I know that day
Yeah,
is coming.
perhaps.
I know the day
Yeah,
is coming.
yes.
I'm gonna believe it for you. I'm gonna believe it for you.
Thank
But I
you.
know God
Thank
has
you.
a
Thank
plan
you.
for you, regardless. Either
For
way, I think
sure.
that you are a winner, and I appreciate your ministry to us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I
Thank
thank
you.
all of you guys. You're welcome. I thank all of you who joined us today, and maybe those who will join us later. I'm so glad that you came along with us on this journey, and I hope that you will continue to do so, because all month long we're going to continue this conversation about how we can come back from failure, how we can get up when it knocks us down. And I want to, before I say goodbye, just quickly go to our scripture, which comes from 1 Peter 5:10. This is actually Carlicia's favorite verse, she says. And it says, "After your brief suffering, the God of all loving grace, who has called you to share in his eternal glory in Christ, will personally and powerfully restore you and make you stronger than ever. Yes, he will set you firmly in place and build you up." I hope that you believe that today. And I hope that whatever failure you have experienced, you will not let it defeat you, that you will recognize that it is part of the journey to your success. And whatever that success might be, maybe it's not the vision of success that you have for yourself, but something that God has for you. So just open your heart and your mind and listen and be willing to receive what it is that he has for you. And not, don't let the vision that you have for yourself be dimmed, because what he has for you is going to be so much greater. I believe that for you and for all of us. And I invite you to join us again next week. I look forward to seeing you. My good friend Amanda Gatewood is going to be here. She's been on the show before, but a lot has changed in her life, and I cannot wait to hear what all she has been going through, successes and failures. And she's going to share that with us next week. I can't seem to get my words together. I'm failing today at that, but God is with me and he's with you too. And I'll see you again next time.
Hey girl, how do you get up when failure knocks you down? Join us this week as we talk to one courageous woman who stayed in the fight. Meet my friend Amanda Gatewood, Saturday at 5 on Facebook Live.